Good morning and welcome. How are you today? Everybody okay?
Good, thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dianne Edwards and I'm your mediator for today's session. I prefer to address participants by their Christian names, so I'd just like to confirm that you're both happy with me to address you with your Christian names.
That's fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good with me.
Thank you. I would like to begin by thanking you both for attending today's session. I understand you may be feeling a little bit apprehensive about the mediation process, but my aim is to make you both as comfortable as possible. So I want to confirm that I've had no prior contact with either of you, and this is the first time that I'm meeting with you or speaking with you today. Therefore, there is no conflict of interest in me conducting the session today. You both agree with that I've had no contact? Yeah, lovely.
Yes.
So a little bit of housekeeping first. The bathrooms, they're located at the end of the entrance hall when you first came in this morning. Please let me know if you need a bathroom break and we'll just take a quick 10-minute recess in that time frame. But I've allocated an hour and a half for today's session. Just wanting to check that neither of you have any time constraints or any other appointments which might prevent this session from concluding today in that time frame. Craig?
No.
Okay, great. So attending today's mediation is Craig Bashforth and Jackie Harvey. I note that you both have legal representation in the matter, but you're attending here today without that support. So you're both comfortable to proceed on that basis?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm comfortable, but I will do it.
Okay, all right. Well, the aim is to make you as comfortable as possible. So let's try and get through that. So today's session is being conducted on a without prejudice basis. So this means that any comments made cannot be used against the other party outside of this session. It also means that any offers to settle made today are not binding unless they're signed upon both parties in a signed agreement. Clear with that one? Everybody's clear with that? Yep, okay. So you both signed a mediation agreement prior to attending today. I would like to remind you that this session is confidential. So any notes that I take during the session will be destroyed at the conclusion of the mediation process. However, if I feel that any comments that are being made are threatening in nature, either to myself or to the other party, I am under an obligation to notify the appropriate authority of those threats. So just wanting to confirm that you both agree to the confidentiality of the process and my obligations to notify appropriate persons if I feel unsafe comments are being made during this session.
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? Great. So is there any questions on anything that I've discussed so far?
No.
No? Okay. All right. So there's a few ground rules that I'd like to bring to your attention before we begin. Shortly, I'll be asking you both to provide an opening statement. This is your opportunity to set out the issues in dispute from your perspective. So I'd like to limit these statements to no more than 5 minutes each, and this will enable you to focus on the main points in dispute. It is important that you're respectful of each other when the other party is speaking. So not just in the opening statement, but at all times during the mediation session. Please listen without interruption. You will have your chance to respond, and if you need to, take notes so you can refer back to when it's your time to speak. There is pen and paper on your desks for that purpose. Once the opening statements have been made, we're going to aim to set an agenda to find some common ground on the issues. So I will then conduct what is known as a joint session, whereby you both have an opportunity to speak and respond to the various comments and issues. It may be that we find that we need to have private sessions, and this is where we'll discuss the issues individually with you without the pressure of the other party listening in. So I do want to reassure you that anything you say to me in those private sessions are confidential and cannot be used in the joint discussions unless you introduce them. So also just be aware that I'm going to try to make it my best effort to make sure that both parties receives equal time in a private session if we go that way. I would ask that during today's session, you both consider your best and your worst alternatives to achieving a resolution to the disputes. We can explore options further as we enter private sessions, but it is important to remember that any dispute, each party has to be prepared to give and take a little from their original standpoint. So if no agreement can be reached during mediation or no headway made in an attempt to resolve the issues, it may be that an application needs to be made to the Supreme Court for an order to finalise the dispute. So it's definitely in your best interest emotionally and financially to consider all offers to settle that are made during this mediation session. If we get to the point where there is agreement reached on any of the issues, we'll prepare documentation to reflect those agreements. We'll then send that documentation off to your legal representatives for formalising and execution. So I just want to confirm with both of you that you do have the authority to settle the dispute if a resolution is achieved today.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So before we begin, I would ask that you switch off your mobile phones to ensure that there are no interruptions or distractions, and we'll get started. Do either of you wish to make the opening statement, or will I allocate? Anybody want to go first? No? All right. Well, let's start with, we'll go alphabetically. Let's start with Craig.
Okay, so first of all, I just want my tools back or pay compensation for my tools. I really need my tools for my business. I don't have a lot of tools, but they're very specialised tools, and either Jackie needs to give them back or pay me some compensation so I can get some more. Mum's wishes were pretty clear. They were that to divide, when she passed, it was to divide the estate into half. Okay, how that happens, I don't really care. But I'm not happy for now that Mum has passed. I'm not happy for the estate to keep paying for Jackie to stay in the other house. The issue around the signing of the probate document, I don't think Jackie will sign the document, and so I'm not prepared to sign a document that I don't think she has any intentions to sign. So for me, I want Jackie to sign the document first before I sign it, and that's what I've told my legal representation. Regarding the evaluations around the house, I've had the house, both properties evaluated, and I think they're fair prices. The house at 41 Green Street, it is pretty run down. The property is pretty, it's not in great shape, and so I think $70,000 for that house is fair, and I think the $150,000 for the other house is fair. I just really want this dispute to go away. Mum's wishes were really clear to divide the estate up into half, and that's what I'd like to achieve today, is an agreement that we just do that and get on with our lives. That's my opening statement.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Craig. We'll just hear from Jackie first, and then we'll just see if there is any common ground where we can start to mediate through here. Jackie, if you're right to go.
Okay. Look, I'm not sure where my brother gets the idea that my mum wanted the property to be divided in half, given that he never visited her very much at all. And look, at the end of the day, it was me that looked after my mum. He didn't. So I really don't feel that I should be paying any rent whatsoever. I do believe it should be the estate that's paying all the outgoings for the property. I've lived in 43 Green Street for my whole life, basically. Lived there with Mum, as I said, looked after Mum. So I really want to keep that property. I don't feel like I should be turfed out of the family home just because my brother now decides he wants to get some extra money. It's not fair. I don't care about the other one. I don't care about 41 Green Street. But look, I do think it is worth more than 70,000. So, you know, we just need to see about that. And I'd be happy for that one to be sold and for me to get half the money, obviously. But I'm certainly not giving up Green Street, not while I did look after our mother all that time. Look, about the tools, there's something I do want to share with you. Look, I do feel a bit intimidated by Craig, and I have had a previous DVO against him for his aggressive behaviour. He did abandon those tools, and look, because of the DVO, I do not want him back on the property, especially since Mum's gone. He's been a bit weird and a bit aggressive, so I certainly don't want him around. So look, as I said, I definitely shouldn't be paying rent at all. And I definitely should not be turfed out of my home that I've lived in for my whole life. Look, and I think that's all I want to say at the moment.
Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Jackie. I understand that it is difficult for both of you to be here today, so I appreciate you giving that information. So I think there's definitely some issues there that we can create an agenda for to just work around trying to resolve a few of those issues. I don't think we're going to get all of them resolved today, but if we can get one or two of them done, I think we'll be moving ahead in the right way. I'd like to address the issue of the probate documents to start with. So Craig has indicated that he thinks that, Jackie, you won't sign those documents, and that is why he is stalling from signing them as well. Is there some reason, Jackie, that you don't feel that you can't sign those documents?
I just don't trust him.
Okay, all right. So if the documents were prepared and Craig signed them first, would you then sign them?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Okay, all right. So if we did, maybe if we suggested a time frame that they had to be signed within. So if we said, Craig, if you would be prepared to sign those documents with your legal representative tomorrow, would Jackie would then need to sign them within, 5 days or 3 days. Would you be happy to sign those documents on that basis?
Yeah, I'd like to see the document. I'd like to see it signed first, and then obviously I'd like to try and get I'll seek legal advice on those documents. But I'm happy to sign the documents. I'm just not happy to sign them first. And so if Jackie wants to sign first, that's great.
All right. Jackie, how would you feel about being the first to sign them and then passing them to Craig's legal representative to sign within a similar time frame? If we said if you sign them tomorrow and give him 2 or 3 working days to sign them within, would you be comfortable doing that to at least get the probate documents moving?
Not really. Is there a reason why we can't do it at the same time?
You would probably need to be in the same room, I would imagine, to sign them at the same time, and since you have your independent legal representation, that may be an issue.
And I have a DVO. I have a DVO out on me, so I can't be in the same room.
Well, we're in the same room at the moment.
Okay. Obviously, this is not going to happen today, so maybe we can sit on that one, and maybe both of you should just have a reconsider about how important it is to move this forward with the probate. Without the probate document, it's my understanding that the estate administration can't continue, so you are going to be in a hold pattern.
Okay, look.
Which just it makes everything take longer. So someone has to make that first move and be prepared to sign first.
If Jackie's happy to sign the documents, I'm happy to sign the documents straight after her.
If it can be guaranteed that Craig would sign them straight after, I would sign them first.
Okay. So if we put something in writing to say that Jackie would sign and Craig would immediately sign the documents, we could have that signed. Would you both be in agreement with that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we can sign off on that, and and that's one tick done. So, you know, thank you both for meeting in the middle, to some respect. You know, there is give and take. So we do want to move it forward. And I think we're going in the right way. We might, there's obviously issues with the tools. Craig, you need those tools for your work. You've been without them for some time now.
Yes, I need those tools, and I can't go near the property to get my tools because there's a DVO there. So, but I really need those tools.
Okay. Jackie, would there be some way that Craig could go to the property with a third party when you're not at the property to collect those tools?
As long as there's someone there to represent me as well, to see
Correct.
What's taken.
Yes, so that would be an option. The other option is Craig has asked for financial compensation, so he could repurchase new tools.
That's not going to happen.
Okay, so I think then we maybe need to look at having yourself represented, either your legal rep or a family friend, somebody that you completely trust, attend at the property at a set time with Craig when you are not there, and that would enable Craig to then collect his tools, and then that issue then is gone. Would that be something that both of you would be prepared to work towards?
Yeah, definitely.
Craig, do you have a list of the tools that are in the shed?
No, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay.
So I can provide that through my legal representation.
So if you could provide that, we could make a note that you will provide that to your lawyer, who would then give that to Jackie's legal reps. And then when you meet at Jackie's house to obtain those tools, they will be the only belongings that will be allowed to be removed from the property.
That's all I want.
All right, Jackie, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, sure.
All right, and I guess we can let the legal reps work out those times between yourselves, so long as we have agreement that that is what you are happy to do between yourselves. The day and time for that can be sorted out down the track as soon as possible, but within a reasonable time frame. If we set it within maybe do it within maybe a 2-week time frame, if you need those tools for your work, then I guess the sooner that can also be done, the better. Are you able to meet those time frames, Craig?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and Jackie, you'd be able to work within those time frames?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we can have agreement on that one as well. Right, so there were a couple of other things that we did need to go back to revisit. The rent was definitely something that was in contention between the two of you. From what I'm hearing, Craig believes that Jackie should be paying rent, and Jackie does not want to pay any rent. Jackie, why do you not think that you need to be paying the rent?
Because I looked after my mum all those years, and Craig didn't put his hand in his pocket then. You know, and it was always an agreement between my mum and I that I would get to live there rent free.
Okay, while she was alive?
No, just as long as I was alive.
Okay, all right. Obviously, that's not what the documentation is showing is to happen after she's passed. That the properties, from my understanding under the will, is to be split 50-50. So I guess Craig has some thoughts that he owns 50% of that house and is potentially entitled to 50% of any rental income that would come from that property.
Can he not take the other house?
Craig, where do you stand on that issue?
No, the house is like it's run down, the property's run down, and it's like half the value. Of course I'm not going to take the other house.
Okay.
No.
And there was obviously some dispute with the valuations as well for the property. So there's only been one valuation obtained from one local real estate agent for both properties. Is that correct?
Well, I'm the one that got off my backside and went and got the evaluation to, so, you know, if there needs to be another valuation and Jackie's not happy with the valuation, you know, she should go out and get the evaluation.
Okay, all right. Perhaps that's something that we do need to look at doing, is obtaining a second and possibly a third valuation of the properties to see if there is any difference in the different real estate agents' opinions on what the properties are valued at. Jackie, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, look, I'm fine with that. I just think we need to find out the true value, because I do believe it is definitely worth more than 70,000.
Okay. Are we just looking at valuing the one property, or are we looking at valuing both again?
We've got to get both properties evaluated.
Okay. All right. Okay. So if we go back to the lawyers and just say, look, you've agreed to have a second valuation done of the properties to look and to see if there is any difference there, and perhaps then come back at another time to see if there is some agreement that can be reached with those values. Yeah. I think we do need to discuss the rent further. I don't think we're going to get too far on it in a joint session. I think we probably need to break to private sessions, so I can just get a little bit more feedback on maybe where you each are financially in the ability to pay rent, Jackie, and you may not feel comfortable having those discussions in a joint session. So we can break. I'd like to break to have those discussions if we can, and then come back in a little bit. Okay, so we've just joining back into our joint session after our private sessions discussing rent. It appears that we do have some agreement between you. I think you've both managed to give a little bit, which is very good. So we do need to revisit in probably another month, I'd say, because there's some things that we need to go back to your legal reps and get done, and then we can come back to another mediation session once we have those things. But just to finish off today's session, we'll just recap what we have discussed and what we have come to agreement on, and which you will sign agreement to, is that Jackie's going to sign the probate documents, and Craig will immediately then sign the probate documents, so that that document can come from the court. We can close bank accounts, the solicitors can close bank accounts, and they can then commence estate administration a little bit further along for you both. You've both agreed that Jackie's legal representative will organise to have new valuations done of the properties, and then come back again and compare the two valuations, just to see if there can be some agreement reached as to the value of the two properties, to be able to move forward a little bit further. And Jackie, you have come to agree to pay $100 a week rent. Admittedly, it's not what you wanted, but I think it's probably fair in the circumstances at this point in time. The estate, though, will continue to meet the rates, the insurance, and any maintenance that may be required to the property. So I think that maybe just satisfies everybody a little bit. So that's good that we've managed to come to that agreement. So I think if we can make a time to come back in another 4 weeks, I'll make those appointments with your legal reps. And then we can just come back again and have another chat and see if we can move forward again a little bit further.
Okay.
So thanks very much for attending today. Again, I understand that you've both not necessarily come voluntarily today, but thank you very much for attending.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot.